You ever notice how some of the strongest people you know are the ones who walk alone? Not because they have to, but because they choose to? See, there's a quiet power in solitude that most people overlook. While the world scrambles for attention, validation, and someone to complete them, there's a different kind of person. The one who looks in the mirror and says, I complete me. Living alone doesn't mean you're lonely. It means you've mastered the art of peace. It means you're not afraid of your own thoughts, you're not running from your past, and you're not filling your life with people just to avoid silence. Because here's the truth most won't say out loud. Some relationships drain you more than solitude ever could. When you live alone, mentally, emotionally, even physically, you reclaim your power. You move without permission. You rise without applause. And you become dangerous to anything that tried to distract or diminish you. If you've ever felt like walking away from the noise, if you've ever felt stronger on your own than surrounded by people who don't see your worth, this message is for you. And before we dive deeper, hit that subscribe button and like this video if you're tired of settling and ready to step into your power. This is Motivation Paradox, where peace meets purpose. Let's talk about why living alone might be the best relationship you ever have. When you live alone, you eliminate unnecessary friction from your life. No more arguments about where the dishes go, what movie to watch, or justifying your dreams to someone who doesn't understand your fire. Living alone is not loneliness, it's liberation. It's waking up and realizing the only person you have to align with is the one staring back at you in the mirror. You control your space, your time, your energy. That means no energy vampires leeching off your ambition, no silent resentment building up in the corners of a forced relationship. It's clarity, it's peace, and most importantly, it's power. You get to decide how your morning starts and how your night ends. If you want to grind from 5 a.m. or go for a walk at midnight, no explanations needed. That level of autonomy trains your mind. It builds a rhythm that most people never experience because they're too distracted managing someone else's chaos. And here's something most won't admit. Being alone allows you to hear your own voice. In relationships that aren't aligned, your voice gets quieter over time. Your needs get pushed to the back. You compromise until you're unrecognizable. But when it's just you, you learn to listen to that gut feeling. You sharpen your intuition. You start honoring your inner compass instead of constantly steering around someone else's storms. People confuse being alone with being lost. But some of the most found people are the ones who've walked the longest roads by themselves. They've built a sanctuary where their soul can breathe, not just survive. Living alone teaches you how to pour into yourself. It removes the need to be everything to someone else, and instead it allows you to become everything you were meant to be for yourself. Because real freedom isn't found in escape, it's found in ownership. And when you live alone, you own every part of your life. That's not something to fear. That's something to respect. That's something to protect. Freedom over friction every time. When you live alone, silence isn't awkward. It's powerful. It's in that silence you find clarity. You start to hear the things you've been drowning out with noise. Other people's opinions, distractions, fake relationships, and forced smiles. But now the room is still. And for the first time in a long time, your thoughts have space to breathe. You start realizing how much of your energy was spent trying to be understood, trying to meet expectations, trying to explain your soul to someone who didn't even want to listen. That's the kind of emotional labor that leaves you tired and empty. But when you're alone, clarity replaces confusion. You stop guessing about who you are and what you want. You begin to know. There's no pressure to perform, No need to fake a mood to keep the peace. No passive-aggressive tension in the air. Just you and truth. Living alone removes the static. It strips life down to what matters. And it teaches you something most people never learn. Peace is not found in comfort. Peace is found in clarity. And let's be real, when you're constantly surrounded by others, especially the wrong ones, their voices cloud your judgment. You second guess yourself. You hesitate on decisions. You start to forget what your gut sounds like. But alone, you recalibrate. You hear that inner voice loud and clear. And it doesn't whisper, it commands. It tells you what needs to be done. It points you toward growth. It reminds you of your worth. And without the weight of someone else's expectations, you actually see people chase clarity through others, through relationships, through validation. But they never find it because clarity doesn't live there. Clarity lives in silence, in solitude. In those quiet mornings when the sun rises and it's just you and your breath. Living alone gives you the sacred space to look within and see without distortion. And once you've seen life clearly, it's impossible to go back to chaos. That's why living alone isn't a step back. It's the step forward most people are too afraid to take, because clarity demands courage. But once you choose it, you don't settle for confusion again. When you live alone, you stop asking for permission to be yourself. You don't have to negotiate your peace. You don't have to explain why you need quiet or justify why you're choosing discipline over distraction. You just live freely. And that freedom, that's rare. Because most people are living under someone else's expectations, someone else's mood, someone else's emotional weight. But when it's just you, you do what needs to be done without waiting for agreement or approval. Want to wake up at 4 a.m. and work in silence? Do it. Want to pray in the middle of the night or meditate with the moon as your light? Do it. No judgment, no second guessing. You're not living on someone else's emotional clock. This freedom unlocks something powerful. It makes you dangerous in the best way, because once you've lived without needing validation, no one can manipulate you with it. You stop shrinking to fit into rooms that were never built for your spirit. You stop dimming your light just to make others feel comfortable in the shadows. You start living loud, bold, and unapologetically true. People don't talk about this enough. Relationships, even the ones that seem perfect, often come with invisible chains. You start compromising your routines, your mindset, even your dreams, just to keep the peace. You stop doing what fuels you and start doing what pleases them. And that's not love. That's prison with pretty words. But when you're alone, you realize what it means to choose yourself daily. You move without hesitation, speak without filtering your truth. You heal without interference, and in that solitude, you find rhythm, a divine rhythm. One where you're no longer rushing to catch up with someone else's path. You're locked in on your own. And that's the difference. Living alone teaches you to trust your pace, to honor your inner voice, to follow your instincts without permission slips. It reintroduces you to your own strength, your own intuition, your own power. And once you taste that kind of freedom, surface level companionship no longer tempts you, because real freedom doesn't ask for permission. It walks in, owns the room, and speaks truth, even if no one claps. There's a reason why the strongest trees grow far from the chaos. They're rooted deep in the quiet. And that's exactly what happens when you live alone. You step out of the noise and into the silence. And in that silence, you begin to grow. Noise distracts you. It keeps you chasing approval, reacting to drama, living in cycles that drain you instead of build you. But when you strip that away, when you sit in a room by yourself with nothing but your thoughts, you face the truth. You face yourself. And that's where real growth begins. Most people run from silence because they're afraid of what it might reveal. But when you live alone, there's no one left to blame, no one to hide behind. It's just you, your choices, your habits, your demons. And in that raw truth, you either crumble or rise. And if you're intentional, you rise. This kind of growth is slow, it's not flashy, it's not something you post on social media. It's the quiet discipline of becoming someone solid. Someone who doesn't need attention to feel valuable. Someone who doesn't need to prove anything because their actions are already speaking volumes. You begin to recognize your emotional triggers, not by reading about them, but by observing your own reactions. You learn your rhythms. When you're most creative, when you're most vulnerable, when you need rest, you stop performing and start aligning. And over time, that inner alignment becomes your foundation. And the best part, nobody can take it from you because it wasn't handed to you. It was earned in the stillness, built through consistency, forged through lonely nights and quiet mornings where you showed up anyway. That's real power. Living alone teaches you that growth isn't about adding more. It's about subtracting the distractions, the toxic voices, the noise that keeps you small. And in that subtraction, you find space. Space to think, space to dream, space to evolve. Because at the end of the day, growth doesn't happen in crowded rooms full of opinions. It happens in silence, in solitude, in the sacred stillness where you finally stop running and start becoming. Living alone has a powerful way of resetting your standards. When you're by yourself, you realize just how peaceful life can be without unnecessary drama, half-hearted effort, or one-sided relationships. You become the full source of your own peace. And once you've tasted that kind of wholeness, you stop settling for crumbs. You stop answering texts from people who only hit you up when they need something. You stop chasing people who never made space for you. You stop trying to convince anyone of your worth. Why? Because you already proved it to yourself. You already showed up for you when nobody else did. Living alone teaches you the difference between loneliness and being alone. Loneliness is a lack of connection. But being alone, that's freedom. That's clarity. That's the ability to hear your own voice without everyone else's opinions drowning it out. You learn to love your own company so deeply that anything less than genuine effort from others feels like an insult to your peace. When you've built a life that doesn't depend on anyone to complete you, you begin to see clearly what adds value and what subtracts from it. You recognize when people are being inconsistent. You notice when their words don't match their actions. And instead of making excuses for them, you distance yourself. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You no longer tolerate maybe, kinda, or when it's convenient. You require clarity. You require presence. You require energy that matches yours. Because you know what it took to get here. You know the battles you fought alone. You know the nights you stayed up, building your vision, brick by brick. And you're not about to let anyone walk in and mess it up with laziness or half-love. This is the silent power of living alone. It sharpens your discernment. You start choosing people with purpose. People who bring peace, not problems. People who speak life, not confusion. And if those people never come around, you're still good. Because you're not waiting to be saved, you already rescued yourself. And when you operate from that place of power, the bare minimum doesn't even get your attention. It's not enough to just show up. They've got to match the standard you set when no one was watching. That's how high the bar is now. Living alone forces you to face the parts of yourself that relationships often help you ignore. There's no one to blame, no one to lean on, no one to distract you from your own inner battles. It's just you. And that silence becomes the mirror, the truth, the medicine. And for the first time, healing isn't a trend or a buzzword, it's a lifestyle. When you live alone, you can't hide behind someone else's presence. The noise of companionship doesn't cover up the wounds anymore. You hear your thoughts, you feel your emotions in real time. You sit with your regrets, your fears, your past. And instead of running from them, you finally start processing them. Healing alone is raw. It's uncomfortable, but it's real. You learn how to comfort yourself through anxiety. You figure out what triggers your sadness and what lifts your spirit. You become your own emotional support, your own voice of reason. That's power, because now nobody can manipulate your peace. Nobody can use your brokenness against you. There's something sacred about healing in solitude. You're not performing for anyone. You're not posting progress for validation. You're doing the deep work, crying in silence, forgiving yourself, letting go of people who left you, and relearning who you really are. Not the version of you that others molded, but the true version that you buried beneath compromise and codependency. You start setting routines that protect your peace. You journal your thoughts instead of projecting them. You meditate, you pray, you listen, you repair the inner foundation so that when the next person enters your life, they're walking into something solid, not chaos. You also stop repeating patterns. Toxic relationships don't excite you anymore. Chaos feels foreign. Dysfunction feels like a red flag instead of a familiar comfort. You don't entertain people just to avoid feeling alone, because you're no longer afraid of your own company. In fact, you cherish it. You honor the version of you that survived without shortcuts. That's when healing becomes dangerous, in the best way, because now you know your worth isn't up for debate. It was found in the quiet, built in the stillness, and protected by the walls you built with wisdom. Living alone didn't just heal you, it rewired you. Now, peace isn't something you hope for, it's something you defend relentlessly. Living alone is the ultimate expression of freedom. There's no need to ask permission, explain your choices, or compromise your daily rhythm to fit someone else's expectations. Every decision, from what time you get up, to what you eat, to how you spend your time, is yours alone. That kind of freedom is rare, and it's powerful. When you're not tied down by the demands of a relationship, you reclaim your life in ways you didn't realize were possible. Want to take a spontaneous trip? You can. Want to dive into a new hobby or passion project without judgment? Go for it. Want to stay up late working on your dreams or sleep in because your body needs rest? No one's going to question you. This freedom creates a fertile ground for growth, creativity, and self-discovery. But freedom here isn't just about doing whatever you want. It's about the peace that comes from living authentically, without masks or pretense. In relationships, sometimes we bend ourselves to avoid conflict or to please. We tuck away parts of who we are to keep the peace, to avoid rejection or to maintain appearances. Living alone removes all that pressure. You can be exactly who you are, flaws, quirks, and all, without apology. This freedom also means you learn to trust yourself more deeply. You become the captain of your own ship. You rely on your own judgment, your own instincts, your own compass. That builds confidence, something that can't be taught or borrowed, but must be earned in solitude. When you live alone, you learn that you are enough. You don't need external validation or approval to feel whole. At the same time, this freedom is a responsibility. It forces you to own your life completely. Your successes, your failures, your happiness, and your pain. There's no safety net or fallback person to catch you. That pressure can be intimidating, but it also fuels resilience and accountability. You'll learn that your life is a reflection of the choices you make each day. In truth, gaining this freedom is one of the greatest gifts living alone offers. It's not about loneliness or isolation. It's about power. The power to live on your own terms. The power to define what happiness means for you. The power to wake up every morning knowing your life is yours to command. That's a freedom that no relationship can match. And once you taste it, you never want to settle for less. When you live alone, you embark on a journey that teaches you the invaluable skill of enjoying your own company. This might sound simple, but in a world obsessed with social connections and constant interaction, truly being comfortable alone is a rare and powerful achievement. Living alone forces you to confront yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, your desires. And in that confrontation, you build a deeper relationship with the most important person in your life, you. Appreciating your own company means you no longer depend on others to fill the silence or validate your worth. It means you can sit in a room by yourself and find peace, instead of feeling restless or lonely. This ability is a form of strength because it shows you don't need external distractions or approval to feel whole. You become self-sufficient emotionally, which builds resilience in every other area of your life. When you're alone, you learn to listen deeply to your inner voice, the real one, not the noise of outside opinions or expectations. This connection to yourself sharpens your intuition and helps you make decisions that align with your true purpose. You stop living to please others and start living to fulfill yourself. This clarity becomes a foundation for success, happiness, and genuine contentment. Moreover, appreciating your own company cultivates self-love and self-respect. You begin to treat yourself with kindness, patience, and understanding because you realize that you are your lifelong companion. This relationship teaches you to forgive your mistakes, celebrate your victories, and nurture your growth without waiting for others to do it for you. That's a freedom that no relationship can guarantee. Living alone also strips away the distractions that often come with companionship. It gives you the space to reflect, create, and focus on your goals without compromise. This solitude can be a powerful creative force, allowing you to explore your passions, refine your talents, and build a life that resonates deeply with who you are. At the end of the day, learning to appreciate your own company is more than just surviving solitude. It's thriving in it. It's about discovering that you are enough, just as you are. And that realization becomes a wellspring of confidence, peace, and independence that no relationship can provide. When you truly enjoy your own company, you unlock a level of strength and self-awareness that transform your entire life. If you've ever felt caught between the noise of the world and the peace of your own mind, remember this: mastering the art of living alone isn't loneliness, it's empowerment. It's about claiming your space, your time, and your worth. So, if this message hit home, make sure you don't miss what's coming next. Subscribe to Motivation Paradox right now. Hit that like button if you're ready to own your life on your own terms, and drop a comment below telling me what you've discovered about yourself when you spend time alone. Your story might just inspire someone else to find strength in solitude. Let's grow together.